Hey everyone, it's Mike Hambright of FlipNerd.com. Welcome back for another exciting expert interview show where I interview great guests, awesome guests from across the real estate investing industry to help you learn and to inspire you. For today's show, I'm excited to be joined by Patrick Precourt. He's a leading real estate investor, mentor, and coach, and really just a motivational speaker where he teaches others how to achieve a life of wealth and freedom. And it's going to be a great show today. I love talking about the type of stuff that we're going to talk about. Patrick is a professional. He has a professional development program where he helps mentor over 800 elite students across the country. In fact, he's at an event right now, so if you're watching versus listening, you may see that Patrick is in a hotel lobby, which it actually is not going to affect us at all. If you're listening, you wouldn't even know it. But anyway, he is a traveling man, and he's out helping people. So what we're going to talk about today is, as real estate investors and entrepreneurs, we're all concerned with kind of growing. You just don't want to stay where you're at. You can never get comfortable. You've got to find ways to constantly move forward, no matter where you're at in your career, whether you're really working for someone else and you want to go out on your own and be self-employed and an entrepreneur, or whether you're an entrepreneur and you're at the top of your game already, you're worried about growth and staying where you're at and being relevant and moving forward. And we all have fears and all these things that we deal with. So Patrick is a great leader in helping us and helping others move forward from wherever they're at. And he has some great messages to share with us as entrepreneurs today. Before we get started with Patrick, though, let's take a moment to recognize our featured sponsors. B2R Finance makes loans tailored specifically for rental investors. They can help you unlock equity from your existing properties so you can get cash out to grow your rental portfolio. That's huge. It opens up lots of opportunities previously not available to rental investors. Need a loan? Call 888-472-0419 or visit flipnerd.com/B2R today. VirtualStaffNow.com is your source for done-for-you virtual assistants that specialize in helping you run your real estate investing business. They recruit, manage, and train VAs for you so you can focus on growing your business. If you're in growth mode, build your team fast at a cost you can't beat by visiting virtualstaffnow.com. AceBusinessFunding.com can help you get up to $150,000 in revolving credit lines to fund your business with rates as low as 0% for the first 12 to 18 months. Use the funds for startup costs, marketing, inventory, or heck, even buying houses and funding your rehabs. If they can't get you funding, you don't pay a dime. Get funds for your business today at acebusinessfunding.com. Please note, the views and opinions expressed by the individuals in this program do not necessarily reflect those of FlipNerd.com or any of its partners, advertisers, or affiliates. Please consult professionals before making any investment or tax decisions, as real estate investing can be risky. Hey, Patrick, welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome, Mike, and thank you for having me here. I'm pumped, brother. I've been waiting on this.
Yeah. Well, I told you, hey, we wanted to have our very best guest at number 272, and we got you. We got you. Now, hey, I'm real excited. I really love the message that you share with people, and I think, as entrepreneurs, a lot of us struggle. Even people that assume, hey, that guy's at the top of his game, he's done something awesome. We're all regular people. Everybody has a life. They have to go home and they have fears and concerns and health issues and kind of all those things that every human has to deal with. And a lot of times, I think, it keeps people out of being self-employed, and it keeps people that are entrepreneurs, sometimes that those fears and those concerns kind of keep them in a place where it's difficult to grow, right?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to start this conversation on fears.
Yeah, well, how about before we dive in too far here, why don't you take a couple minutes and just kind of tell us your background for those that don't know you. For a lot of people, you may not need an introduction, but for some that may not know you well enough yet, kind of tell us your background and kind of what you do and how you got to where you are.
Sure, yeah, and I'll try to condense this in a really big period of time over a short little description. So this goes back to even started in real estate in the late 90s, early on in short sales, and we stayed heavily into short sales through 2010-ish and had processed close to 850 short sales in that time. We got into them long before anybody even knew what a short sale was, and built an entire business on all aspects of everything short sale, and that was wonderful. And that was kind of where we spent most of our time early on in the investment side of things. Since then, we've expanded in our entrepreneurialism. Currently, I have we still have a real estate investment company that specializes in what I call high risk, high reward properties, Mike. And an example would be a property that has a Very well documented contamination, leaky oil tanks, lead-based paint, asbestos, things like that. Something that nobody else wants. That kind of property is the stuff we look for. We look for things that are in the middle of really yucky lawsuits, title claims, things like that. That's something we want to take on. Zoning issues, zoning infringement, anything that pushes everybody else away, particularly ones that still have loans on them. That's our current forte, and that's where we focus our real estate expertise.
Yep, awesome.
Yeah, outside of that, over the past, say, starting in 2002, 3, 4, got involved in the educational side of real estate, starting, again, narrowed in short sales, teaching people how to do short sales in a process that we kind of created, very proprietary, long before short sale was such a buzzword and long before the government got involved. And then we expanded that into a much larger company that we partnered with, and it grew to be one of the largest real estate educational companies out there. And when I retired from it, it was, I retired in 2013, it was sales in excess of $75 million. So it grew very big, very fast. It was very successful. And that just kind of launched me to other areas of my entrepreneurial space. Now, I retired there so I could spend more time on the self-development, the personal development, the business side of what we do. And focusing exclusively on real estate investors kind of narrowed it down a little too much. And since that's when we launched our Precourt Enterprises brand and what we call the 6 Primal Life Experiences and 6 Primal Life Pillars, which are all about experiencing life at a higher level.
Right.
We typically, as we grow and expand, particularly, as we get into your age and my age, we find ourselves getting conformed by circumstances and comfort zones, which tend to hold us down and don't allow us to become all that we're capable of doing. Right. In this space of growing people, we opened up a lifestyle fitness center. It's kind of unique in that it's it's big. It's 16,000 square feet. We have 18 trainers in there. I call it a lifestyle fitness center, but it has the heart and culture of our fighting martial arts. So picture this. So picture we combine yoga and Pilates and Brazilian body and all of our cardio fitness classes. We combine that with Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu and boxing and wrestling. I have a full-blown MMA cage in there.
Wow.
We have 6 pro MMA guys for fight out of our fitness center. So it's really, really unique, But the idea there, and you're like, well, how does the different businesses combine? Because you hear often the idea of focus, and you got to focus on one. And the other, my focus is absolute, unique, and special, and I focus on expanding and growing people. And the physical part of what we do is a big piece of that. People don't come to our gym, for instance, to work out. They come to our gym to become better than they were the day before. We'll talk a little bit about that, hopefully later in a conversation about our self-mastery and how we produce those results.
Awesome. So why don't you, where do you want to start here? Do you want to start by talking about, I know we talked about fears a little bit, but maybe you could start off by talking about kind of the entrepreneurial mindset and what it takes to become an entrepreneur, and then some of the challenges you've seen that kind of hold people back.
Sure. I mean, we can go right to where people start, right? Where do entrepreneurs come from? They come from the space of being an employee. They come from having a job, and one day we realize that we're capable of more, and we're willing to make that leap of faith into the life of self-employed, right? And really, let's be honest with the life of self-employed. Self-employed is really now, instead of working for a job, we now just own a job. Not much has changed. Our days have gotten longer. Our responsibilities have gotten greater. But typically, the money isn't any better, right?
So the days are longer. It's there's no doubt. I think most people end up working harder than they ever have, right?
Yeah. And I'm not against working harder. I'm against working harder, though, when there's not a plan, when there's not a specific outcome or result and clarity as to why we're working harder. And, I had parents that were the hardest working individuals, and they came from the era that the harder you work, the better or bigger your results would be. Yeah. Let me just share the net result of that. They built in an entrepreneurial minded, they built a home inspection company, which I worked for a number of years, which was awesome, that had an outstanding reputation, more business than we could ever handle, but that was the problem. We could only handle so much. My parents did everything themselves. They had one employee, me, okay? It was pretty much me and my dad who did all the inspection. They were incapable of expanding beyond the owner-operated business.
Right.
They didn't own a business, make no mistake. This business, it was exclusively about them. And quite honestly, when my dad passed away, so went the business as well. Right. So he spent a good part of 15 years building something that never had a payoff. Right? And I mean, you know this to be true. If that's the plan, you're better off working where you're working and holding a job, right? Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely. Yeah, nobody. I think that's a challenge. A lot of not just real estate investors, but entrepreneurs have is doing something bigger than themselves. Not just creating a job, but how do they actually build something that can exist and thrive without them? You know, that's a whole nother form of entrepreneurship that a lot of people, never get to that point, unfortunately.
Sure. So that goes into the idea of going, have a job, self-employed, business operator, you're operating the business, you're managing the business, but then it's the big leap of faith into a business owner, being the actual business owner. Business owner, quite honestly, I define that by being that the functions of the business operate without you. You're no longer operating it.
Yep.
And there is a big shift in mindset. It's the one that, if you want to see what kills the entrepreneur between year 5 and year 10, when that's when, there's a huge default rate in business, there's a huge failure rate, it's their inability, which is their lack of decision making or their inability to make the choice to switch from managing a business to leading a business.
Yeah.
And the mind shift is huge. It's simple, but it's huge. When you think about it, what does a manager do? A manager manages results. They focus on improving results, and that's how they rate themselves. That's how they get bonuses. That's how they judge their worthiness, their value. And this isn't any business. What a manager is supposed to do, right?
Yep.
A leader, however, they don't work on increasing results. They work on improving people. And this is a hard step because you know what? Nothing big ever happened by just one person. Right. It always takes a group of outstanding people working together. And a lot of entrepreneurs are of the mindset that, well, nobody can do it as good as me.
Right.
And I'll call it out for what it is.
Yeah.
That's kind of an arrogant, kind of an ignorant position.
Yeah.
Because there's very little that we do that we're awesome at. There's just a lot that we do.
Yeah, I think where a lot of people get hung up too is, let's say that they're doing, I don't want to talk about money and say, well, if you're not making $1 million, you're not doing well. But let's just say the average person, this probably is above average. So let's just say they're making $250,000 a year. It's hard for them to go out and say, I'll give up half of that to a superstar because I think they can double it from here. It's a lot of times people can't afford that person, or they can't afford the risk, in their mind at least, they can't afford to take that risk of, well, what if they don't work out? And they've got the challenges of, small companies, small businesses, they generally can't have redundancy. So if you over rely on somebody and that person leaves, then, you're the guy that has to jump back in. There's all those kind of issues that small businesses face.
The what ifs, yeah.
Any thoughts there on
so
the importance of being able to think bigger?
How do we scale? We want to scale so we increase our bottom line, but we need our bottom line to be increased so that we can scale.
Right.
What goes first, the chicken or the egg, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's start out with this, Mike. We cannot go into this asking ourselves or saying to ourselves, what if I fail? We no doubt speak our future. And if we go into it questioning whether or not we're going to succeed, the likeliness that we're going to succeed is diminished greatly. I mean, we call out everything we want. The universe returns to us exactly that which we asked for. And all you got to do in order to ask is just be clear on what it is. And when you start focusing on missing, then you're going to start getting those misses. So let's start out with the commitment that we're going all in on this process. And all in simply means, and the commitment simply means that we're not going to doubt ourselves. We'll evaluate risk, but we're not going to doubt the process, right? That's number one. Number two is, in order to scale, in order to get bigger, we need more than us. And we have to ask ourselves, whenever I get to an impasse, and this I'll share with all of you, okay? Whenever we get to an impasse that is no longer acceptable, situation terms that are no longer acceptable, you have to ask yourself, just like we're looking at each other right now, and just say, listen, self, how much longer am I going to continue to choose to accept the results and the outcomes that I'm currently getting? And just pause and wait for that answer. Because what's resonating in the back of your head right now, number one, that you're choosing your life right now, which is accepting that everything we have, we deserve. Everything we have it equally to the level that we deserve. And what that means, Mike, is that you and I have made decisions, made choices, took actions that have gotten us to exactly where we are right now.
Yeah.
Which means everything good and bad, from our physical health to the size of our bank account to the quality of our relationships, are all direct result of our decisions, and we have exactly what we deserve. and we have it, we deserve it to the degree that we're committed to attract it and accept it.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
That's the answer of creating change. So you want to scale, do you, brother? Well, you can scale, receive everything you want to the degree that you're committed to attract and accept the fruits of that labor.
Yeah.
And when we start out saying, well, what if I fail? It's already a breach in your commitment. We're already going the wrong way. Right? We have
you're coming up with plan B in the back of your mind, yeah.
And if you come up with plan B, you will resort to plan B.
Yeah.
You've committed to it. It's like giving your kid a way out, right? Either you get an A, but if you don't and you only get a B, they're getting a B.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably the single biggest leap of faith or change that we have to take. And then we have to start challenging our fears, you know? When I say challenge as if it's a fear under the bed, right? We're afraid of what's under the bed. Well, it's time to look under the bed. Call yourself out. Man up to this, right? Stop playing down and start. If you want to be bigger, you gotta play bigger. It goes back to the same thing. You and I heard this from the day we were raised by our mom and dad, and all through time. And there's a time and a place that these three words will resonate and finally make sense to us. The words be, do, have. Be, do, have. And unfortunately, we're taught to almost start the process in reverse. Figure out what you want to have, then figure out what you have to do it, and then finally be the person. When in fact, it works just the opposite. It's time we be who we have to be so we can do what we have to do to have what we want to have. So a vision board shouldn't be of the shit we want. A vision board should be of the person we're going to become in order to do the hard work to have anything in this world that we want.
Yeah.
This world is extremely abundant. There's more money than there is air to breathe. The only thing that stops it from flowing our way is us. That's it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Because you and I both know people that have worked really hard and they got the things, but in the process they destroyed the things they cared about the most, right? Family, health, all those things, right?
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because you can't, and we'll get into the idea of why in a second, right? But you cannot achieve success by my definition without keeping your life in integrity. And your life is not just your bank account. It's not just the size of your business. It's not just how many employees you have. Your life is all of those, but it's also your relationships. It's how well you treat your wife. It's relationships with your kids, with your friends. It's how well you keep this in tune. It's how well you keep your word to other people. It's all of that. And if one of them is out of integrity, it'll affect all of these others. When I describe it in terms of resistance in our lives. When I meet a point of resistance during my day, I immediately stop. I own that it's there because I chose it to be there. Something I chose, put it in front of me, and I go back to try to sort out what decision did I make that put that resistance in front of me. It didn't happen by chance. It doesn't work that way, right?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, I wanted to kind of go into, you talked a little bit about the why, like why you do things, and people kind of throw that around, why? Well, I do it because my family, or it's always, I don't want to take that away from anybody, but people tend to, I think a lot of entrepreneurs especially, they work hard out of fear. They work hard because they understand their why, or they just work hard because they don't really know why they're working hard. They just feel like that's what entrepreneurs do, is work hard. But maybe kind of share your thoughts on why identifying, kind of why you do things is important.
Sure. And if the driver's wrong, achieving success is almost impossible. So let me just share with you my definition of success. It's got three components. They're very simple, right? And the first one's a little subjective. You've reached a respectable level of finances, of self-worth, of a net worth, right? Rather. What is that number? Well, that's different to everybody, but a comfort level there. Right? It doesn't mean you have to be the richest guy in the street. It doesn't mean that you have to have millions of dollars, but a respectable, whether you've understood a way to generate and attract income into your life, that it's very easy now for you to generate income. It's become easy to, and maybe it's a lower level than somebody else, but it's still success, right?
Right.
So that's number one. The finances are taken care of. Number two is, and number three are very, very similar, but they feed off each other, right? Number two is you're loved by many. Number three is respected by most. And these two, Mike, These two got to be earned. They can't be gifted to you. They can't be borrowed. They certainly can't be paid for, right?
Yeah.
In order to be loved by many means that you've got to put out love, and it's got to be genuine. You can't fake this. In order to be respected by most, and I say by most because not everybody will respect you, and the world doesn't quite work that way,
right.
And that's fine. But you can have somebody that you disagree wholly with respect you just because you shot straight, right? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And both of these have more to do with humanity and how well you treat people and how much you better their lives. If you take care of people the way they should be taken care of, the way you'd like to be taken care of, these two will rank high for you, right? But you put those three together, that's my definition of success. So you go back to your why, right? So if your why is out of fear, you work hard out of fear, that train ends. I'll tell you that right now, right?
Yeah.
Because it's coming from a negative place, and that means you'll do negative things to avoid something more negative than it. It's not a good place to operate out of. Remember, we get back exactly what we put out.
Sure.
That's right. So the game itself is so simple. If we don't like what we're getting, just take a look exactly what we're putting out and change it. We don't have to ask. We don't have to rely on anybody else. It's wholly up to us, right?
Yeah.
And that takes in the idea of responsibility. And we'll talk more about that in a second. I want to finish this idea on why, right?
Yeah.
Because I know you've been asked 1,000 times, Mike, what is your why in different events and different trainings and things like that. And as I have, and I've asked people their why. And I was at an event that you're familiar with just a few weeks ago in September, and the why came up. And almost everybody there, and most people there, they're mostly males, a couple females, most everybody's married, and therefore most of the whys are the same. Is to take care of my family, my wife, or my husband, and the kids, and be financially sound. And some people would bring it a little further. I want freedom, and all of these, quite honestly, very superficial whys. And I would suggest that if that's all we think we're capable of, we're grossly underestimating, A, our capabilities, and B, we're disrespecting all the God-given tools that have been given to us. You, I, everyone listening to this, we're given a set of tools that makes us unique, one-off versions of us that has never existed ever in the history of this entire earth, isn't present now, and there'll never be another person like you, Mike, or like me, or like anyone else here. And we're unique for a reason, so we could bring our own magic into this space, right? And to think that we're given that attention to detail for the sole purpose of taking care of our family, our why, is really short-sighted. Kind of funny when you start thinking about it this way, right?
Yeah, it is.
So I help understand this at a deeper level by breaking our why into two components: our priorities and our responsibilities, our greater responsibility, right? And I would suggest, and you can just, I share these words for your consideration and for nothing else. You can do with them what you wish. I like to look at our family, our wife or our husband or our kids or anybody else we take care of, and I take care of others in my family, right? I like to see them as our responsibility, okay? They come first, and we've got to make sure that they're taken care of first. No doubt, I'm pretty sure that's what everybody means when they say their why, right?
Right.
But I also like to share the idea for your consideration that we have a greater responsibility. And in the most broad description, I'd suggest that it's our job to impact this world to the highest degree that we possibly can while we're on this earth. And I like to describe it in terms of a dent we leave behind in the earth. We're going to make as big a freaking dent as we possibly can while we're here. And that's where our magic comes alive, because everybody's going to do that in a different way.
Yeah.
Right? Provided we don't fall prey to competing with others.
Yep. And Patrick, would you say that that's like a progressive thing? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, and I've kind of felt this myself, you get to a certain point where your priorities are taken care of, at least, certainly financially, you get to a point to where it's not about the money anymore. I don't want to say it's like not about the money, because things have to make business sense. But you get to a certain point where you're making, whatever the money might be for you, that you're comfortable. You don't have to worry about eating. You don't have to worry about bills at all. And then it's just like, then I've got some sort of mission I'm on here. Some people don't even know what it is. They're just like, I want to make a difference, but they don't know exactly what that is. But can you kind of, is that progression? Is that you got to cover your priorities first, and then you have a responsibility with everything after that to make an impact?
Sort of. I don't think that you have to, because let's just say somebody's starting out, who's really concerned right now about where next month's bills are going to come, where the money for those bills are going to come from, right?
Right.
They're starting out, whether they're an entrepreneur, a new business, whatever it be, and different levels of this, from that financial position all the way up to where all your money's taken care of. There is no one there, Mike, that is not in a position here and now that cannot make a positive impact here and now.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
And so to answer your question, do I think we have to wait until we're more financially secure, stable, to act on this? I would say no, and here's why, okay? This goes to the idea that, we can do it tomorrow. And the truth is, and this is just one of those fundamental rules, that tomorrow is really never more than anything other than a reflection of today. As a matter of fact, it's usually a magnification of today. And I'd suggest that anything you're waiting for tomorrow, you best get busy doing it now. Yeah. It ain't ever going to come.
Right.
And now there's people listening right now that are planning on going on a diet someday.
Well, they should wait, at this point, they should wait till New Year's Day, right? At this point, is that what you're saying? They should wait till New Year's Day?
If it's of any importance to you, you best do it now.
Yeah.
And if you bring up New Year's, here's the truth of New Year's, okay? I
was being facetious there, by the way.
Oh, I know. Most people fall prey to social pressure of committing to some sort of New Year's resolution. And in fact, out of that, less than 79% of New Year's resolutions actually ever get started, and 97% by the third week of January get quit. So commit now to the fact that if you're thinking it'll change come New Year's, be honest and stop lying to yourself, because, of course, nothing changes until we get to the truth. So start being truthful with yourself that I ain't going to do it. But at least if you get to the truth now, you can do something about it.
Right,
you say, no, I'll do it come New Year's, knowing that there's less than 3% chance that it'll happen, then admit to the fact that it ain't going to happen. So at least there's an opportunity to do something about it. That's my take on New Year's.
Yeah. So Patrick, let's talk a little bit about this idea of kind of self-mastery. So I think a lot of people are kind of going through life, and even if they have achieved certain levels of success, they haven't really, like you're saying, it's difficult to be honest with yourself. It's difficult to look in the mirror and say, come on now, you keep saying you're going to work out, you're going to drop 30 pounds, whatever you're going to do, and you just never get there. There's a lot of things in your life. I'm going to get more involved in my kids' lives. I'm going to do these things that you have the best of intentions to do, but you just never get to them. And it takes really a lot of kind of self-awareness to understand that let's be honest with myself right now about where I'm at and why I'm here, and how I can kind of reflect on that often and improve, rapidly. So maybe kind of share your thoughts on how people can kind of really become aware of the situation. Because I think that's one problem that especially a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs have, is they're so caught up in creating something big and vacuous that they never kind of get out of today.
Yeah, no, it's good. And that's a great question. I like the way you asked that, right? So how do we kind of create change? And I'll get into the idea of self-mastery in a second, but let me start with this, okay? Let me start with the idea that we as entrepreneurs, let me separate the difference between competing, right, and being a competitor, and the net effect on us, right, and how we actually start to flip-flop and get this turned around. See, the challenge is we like to compete, and there's a problem with that. And at first you're like, well, what's wrong with competing, right? He's a competitor. What could be possibly wrong with that? The problem with competing is it requires conformity. It requires that we look to be more like them, which runs in complete conflict with our DNA, which we talked about earlier. We were made as a one-off. We're designed to be unlike them. And the truth only comes out of our genuine authenticity. And the second we compete, we're no longer being genuine or authentic. We're trying to conform to be like them, just a little better at what it is they're like.
Right.
So we immediately lose all aspects and control of self-mastery, because self-mastery requires that we have an intrinsic set of controls, an internal driver that is, our decisions and thoughts and emotions are driven from inside, not out here somewhere, from ourself. But the second we compete and we want to be like them or conforming to them, we're now being driven by what's going on the outside. And the challenge with that, right, when we're working outside of our authenticity, means that we're not being genuine or true to who we were meant to be.
Right.
Which again goes back to, you can't create change until you're at the truth. You know, you hear people once in a while say they had an epiphany and everything changed. No, you just freaking woke up to the facts, the reality, the truth, and came clear on it. That's all.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. And at that point, now you can do something about it. And that's competing. A true competitor, though, and this is going to answer your question more specifically, is not competing out there with that bigger company or that person over there who's thinner and drives a nicer car, right? That's not the space they're going after. Because this is what happens, Mike, okay? And I know I've done this in my life more than one time. Sure, you have as well.
Sure.
You look at another company that's like yours or somebody else, look at all that they have and look at now as little as I have. Now, instead of focusing and screaming at the universe exactly what you want, instead of focusing on really where you want to go, you're focusing on what they have and what you don't. So your focus becomes on the space in between, the lack. Instead of focusing on what you want, you focus on what you don't have. And in doing so, you get more of what you don't have, more lack, which completely skews the model. It confuses the universe, right?
Absolutely.
Now, switch modes from competing to a true competitor. True competitor, they compete. But you know who they compete with? Themselves.
Yeah, with yourself, yeah.
And their sole focus, their sole goal, Mike, is become better than they were the day before. That's it. They simplify the game. All I got to do is outperform yesterday. Even if it means it was a crappy day and you fell flat on your face, because it's impossible to land on your face and not fall forward. Sometimes you chalk that up as a victory. Our only competition is us from the day before, whether it be in our relationships, to better a relationship with a child or a daughter or a family member or whatever it may be, in our ability to communicate, because we know communication is a skill and has to do with us and caring and trying to be truly interested in people, whatever it may be. Yep. Just making sure we outcompete ourselves from the day before. That starts down the path, Mike, of self-mastery, because now all your drivers are coming from within. They're not out here. Now, it doesn't matter. You look at me like, it doesn't matter what Pat has. That's not relative to me. It's not even on, that's not even in my ballpark.
Right.
I got my own ballpark. I made my own rules. I'm the creator. And truly, that's when you operate out of truth, authenticity, and you're the genuine you, that's where we're able to create. That's where our magic comes from. And that's the one thing that nobody can ever copy or steal. That's the beauty of competing, because people then, Mike, when they see you in that state, wow, whatever it is he's doing, we're going to go copy Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can listen, come in. You could steal my computer, you can come into my office, you can listen to everything I say, but you can't steal this because it's my magic. My magic comes out of my own DNA. That's the whole rhythm behind this.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the interesting thing about kind of comparing yourself to others is you never know the whole story. You probably only know a little bit of it. You don't know what's behind there. I mean, you know, there's people all the time that are like, I want to, that I mentor and coach, I want to buy 100 houses a year. I'm like, why do you want to do that? Like, you know what that means? You know, there's a lot that happens behind there, and without thinking about what matters to them. It's like, I saw that guy do it and I want that. And it's like, yeah, but that guy's, could be that guy's marriage is falling apart and kids hate him and he's not really making any money anyway because he's doing thin deals that, are just for the sake of units or something. Kind of related to a real estate
And
space,
what you described is often the case.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm sure you describe it because you know it to be true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, not always what it seems to be.
No.
Yeah.
No. Awesome. Well, Patrick, we're about out of time here, so maybe you could take a couple minutes and just kind of wrap up, some of the stuff we talked about today, and kind of hopefully do it in a way to where we kind of summarize this as a lesson for those that are listening, because I think that what you've had to say today really resonates with a lot of people. It's resonated with me. So maybe you could kind of wrap this up here in a couple minutes and give us a little summary.
Sure. Awesome. So let me suggest with a couple things we didn't bring up. Okay. All of us listening here, whether we're business owners or not business owners, starting out or veterans. Okay. The rules are no different. Yeah. Our challenges are all the same. They only get bigger the further along we go. Our job is not to simplify. Our job is to step up. The universe does not allow for simplification. For those of you who, we're a single guy or a gal, then you got a boyfriend or girlfriend, then you got married, then you got a car mortgage, then a house mortgage, then kids. Everything that gets added. It does not simplify. Never goes backwards. It's just more, but it doesn't mean that we can't handle it. But our job is always to step up, never to step down. Okay? But a key to this is clarity and bringing clarity in our lives. I find, and I watch closely, as people speak in vague terms, Mike, and they do that subconsciously, intentionally, so that there's no accountability or responsibility to what they're saying. And if I could nail home one thing, I'd say, ladies and gentlemen, there's two keys to this, okay? One is clarity and the second is consciousness. I said this earlier in the meeting they were in, it's impossible not to make a decision once you're conscious of the decision. A decision gets made every time. And what I mean by that is we're confronted on a daily basis with decisions that need to be made, and we often defer them. We step aside, we hide from them. But the decisions now will get made just without our input. Meaning they're affecting our forward progress, but without our influence on them. And I'm talking about the harder decisions. Yep. So get to a state of consciousness in which you are aware that these decisions got to be made, they're going to be made with or without you. Get to a point of clarity where when you're asked a question, be clear in your answer. Stop using vague terms. Start taking responsibility for everything that's in your life. And I'll leave with this one, my breakdown of the word responsibility. You'll like this, right? If you look at the word responsibility, you have respond and ability. And you put the two together. Responsibility is simply your ability to choose how to respond to circumstances. Now, there's circumstances that we can control and those that we can, most we can't. That's a reality of our lives. Right. And the moment we take responsibility for everything that's happened to us in the past, in the current, and in the future, we're empowered to choose. We now have the ability to choose how we're going to respond to the circumstance. It's the easiest way to start moving forward.
It's awesome. Well, Patrick, thanks for being with us today. For those that might want to learn more about what you've got going on and all the great things you're doing, where should they go?
Yeah, probably the easiest way, Mike, is my full name, PatrickPrecourt.com. So it's Patrick, and then Precourt is Precourt.com, Precourt.com. We got a bunch of cool stuff in there. And we do a lot on YouTube and Periscope and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to see this stuff every day, just start following. You guys will get the idea.
Awesome. We'll add a link down below the video here. So, Patrick, great to see you. Thanks so much. I know I'm actually going to see you in a couple weeks at a mastermind event, so looking forward to that. But thanks for being with us today. This is good stuff that, sometimes we start talking about fundamentals of real estate investing and lots of in-the-weeds stuff on this show sometimes, but we're all doing this for a bigger reason and for whether it's, financial freedom or to provide for our families or to make a difference or all the above. And I thank you for spending time with us to kind of share that lesson today.
Yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity. My kudos to you, man. The questions increase the quality of a program like this, and you're brilliant at what you do. Well done, brother.
All right, man. Thanks so much. Have a great day. We'll see you soon. Are you a member of FlipNerd.com, the most robust real estate investing platform in existence, where you can find off-market wholesale deals and great vendors literally in your market? You can get access to advice from experts and learn about local clubs and events right in your backyard. If not, please visit FlipNerd.com and register for a free account. You can register in less than a minute. It's pretty much the coolest site that's ever existed in the real estate investing industry, so get on over to FlipNerd.com.